What's up, review and preview fans? Back at it with another NFL pre-draft video. And in this video, I'm joined alongside a very special guest and good friend of mine, Dawg Deibler from the beautiful state of Georgia. Noah, how are you doing during this pre-draft season? Happy to have you.
Uh, Good to be here. Excited to be here. Talk about my favorite sports team, the Georgia Bulldogs. Brock Bowers. You know me, Tom. Been very busy. I've also been sick the past week, as you might be able to hear. But other than that, doing pretty good. Excited to come and talk some football with you as always. How about you? How are you doing?
I'm doing excellent. Busy week leading up to the draft. A lot of busy stuff, evaluating all sorts of prospects, not just for my team in the Giants, but around the whole NFL landscape as a whole. And to me, I'm a huge tight end fan. Brock Bowers is the most intriguing prospect for me in this entire draft. Not to kiss butt, Noah, but I do think that Brock Bowers is a generational talent, native of Napa, California. Just 21 years old, a 6'3 junior, 243 pounds, spent 3 years with UGA. And a little fun fact, I don't know if you knew this, Notre Dame tried to recruit him as a linebacker. Were you aware of this?
I did not, but I mean, considering how gigantic he is, it doesn't particularly surprise me either.
At least we saw somewhat of a talent, maybe just not at the correct position. But Bowers ranked first among combine tight ends in production score. I mean, Noah, this guy was a second team AP All American his first 2 years. First team this past season, despite missing 4 games with the ankle injury. What sticks out to you about this guy? What do you love about the prospect, Brock Bowers?
Oh man, where to start? I mean, he's one of the unbiased speaking, he's one of the most dominant players I've ever seen ever play at UGA. I mean, speaking historically, he's got to be probably up there with the likes of Herschel Walker, one of the most dominant players we've ever seen at their position. Um, I mean, he's had that gigantic NFL level frame since he first came in as a freshman when he was 19. Coming into a team that already had some good players, but instantly he was, one of our impact guys. I mean, we don't win either of those 2 championships without him. I think he's a solid route runner. I mean, I do think he could use a little bit more work, mainly in the intermediate range. But we're going to go through some clips later, and you can see he is a pretty good route runner overall. He's a monster in the open field. He's very reliable at catching, catch and run. Good luck trying to tackle him. Blocking wise, I mean, he's not what I would call like a Gronk level block or anything, but at the same time, I don't think he's a wet noodle out there. It's definitely, I'd say, the weakness of his game, but I wouldn't necessarily say he's a liability either. I'd say just kind of a okay blocker. But I mean, when you can do what he does in the open field, you can get open like he can. You can make contested catches. Um, Good luck trying to tackle him in the open field as well. I think he could do a little bit of everything. I think play style wise, I feel like he's Gronk esque. I'm not saying he's going to have the career Gronk had. I mean, it's possible. Also, I think it heavily relies on how many injuries he has during his NFL career. But talent wise, I think their play styles are actually very similar. Maybe not the blocker that Gronk was, but yeah, man. What do I like? Basically everything. I mean, and I'm not just saying that because I'm a UGA fan. Like anyone who watched this guy play, whether you liked him or not, I mean, he was their best player probably the last 3 years combined. He's the guy all the defenses are keying in on, and even then, like the Auburn game last year, he can, a game our offense is struggling 3/4 of the game. He can all of a sudden make 2 one-handed catches on the same drive, I believe, as well, score the go-ahead touchdown, and it's just like, I mean, he basically turned the game like that on its head completely. So he's an impact player. He's not just some, decent prospect that would go out there and do his thing. Whoever drafts him is getting a, potential go-to playmaker type of guy, probably could make the Pro Bowl his rookie season type of guy at the tight end position.
Yeah, you look at the NFL now. Sam Laporta was kind of that guy last year that really developed onto the scene as like a top, 5 to 6 tight end. But you look around the league, There's Travis Kelce, who's getting older, Mark Andrews and George Kittle, who are both injury-prone players, unfortunately. I guess you could throw Darren Waller on the outside looking in of that category as well. And then you got TJ Hawkinson. So outside of that, you can't really name many guys that are consistent tight ends in the NFL. And I think Brock Bowers brings a huge level of that. And I've had my eyes on this guy since his freshman year, when he had 13 touchdown catches. That was a school record for Georgia. He had 400-yard games that season. To me, I agree with everything you said. I think he's prolific at pass catching, a rare blend of acceleration, speed, his body control. His hands are like glue. He has relentless pacing as well as a route runner. I really like what I saw. But for me, I think the secret sauce to Brock Bowers, and you mentioned this in your previous answer there, his ability to rip through tackles and pile on yardage after the catch. That's what I like the most about him. He reminds me of guys like Mark Bavaro in that category there. So I want to ask you, being a Georgia fan yourself, and you can be honest, is he your favorite Bulldog of all time?
Oh man. See, that's a tough one because I got a lot of favorites. My original favorite was Aaron Murray because when I started watching EJ, he was the quarterback, and he was the guy that broke basically all the SEC passing records, career records, and stuff like that. And my favorite Bulldog in the NFL right now is probably either Matt Stafford or Nick Chubb. Those are two guys that are definitely up there. Todd Gurley as well. Obviously, he's not really playing anymore because the arthritis or whatever. But I mean, honestly, probably I do have a signed EA Moore jersey framed of Brock Bowers, so that's definitely probably the best sports memento I have. And objectively speaking, he's one of the most dominant UGA players I've ever seen. So he probably is, but it's very close, man. There's a lot of players over the years I've just absolutely loved.
Absolutely. Now, you answered 3 of my 4 questions for you on Bowers in your first answer, but
okay,
that's all great. That makes this even better. You kind of had trouble coming up with one thing, but I guess if you had to say what has impressed you the most about his time at UGA, was it those one-handed catches? Was it the game-winning touchdown against Auburn, winning the 2 national titles? What was it that stuck out to you? What moment for Brock Bowers impressed you the most?
Man, honestly,
A loaded question.
It really is. It's hard picking out one thing. Honestly, I think the thing that impresses me the most about him isn't even something on the field, but I really respect how much of a consummate teammate and professional this guy is. I mean, considering, how big a monster talent he is and all the attention he gets, I think it'd be understandable for it to go to his head a little bit, but all the interviews I've seen from him after games, where he's just had a monster game or whatever to will the team to victory. And he's one of the first guys that is giving all the credit to all his teammates, giving his credit to the quarterback, the offense coordinator, stuff like that. I haven't heard a negative word anyone's ever said, about Brock Bowers over the years, even people that hate him. I feel like even fans that are fans of teams that hate UGA kind of like Brock Bowers because he's just one of those guys that pops off the screen to everybody. But I'd have to say his leadership, his mentality, I think is very good. He has that. It's tough to say champions mentality because when you go to the NFL, I mean it's a completely different game. But at least college wise, he did have that champions mentality and the right mindset.
Right. I mean, when I look at Brock Bowers, I see the crystal ball. I see everything that I'd want in an NFL tight end. We mentioned weakness. I mean, you'd say run blocking is probably the one area that needs the most work. Would you agree, or is there anything else besides that?
Yeah, I'd say his run. I think his run blocking is worse than his pass blocking. I don't think he's fantastic at either.
Okay.
But yeah, I definitely say run blocking is weakness. But like I said, I don't think he's a wet noodle out there. Like so to make a comparison, a guy I've heard him compared to sometimes for how big a hype prospect he is position is Kyle Pitts, which I know Kyle Pitts very well. I saw him play for years, obviously at Florida, and now I watch him every week for my team. Kyle Pitts is basically a wide receiver at the tight end position. That was his, projection when he was coming in. And so far, that's kind of what I've seen at the NFL level as well. I don't think Brock Bowers is that. He definitely can block. He's not Gronk with the blocking, but he's not a liability out there either. I think he's okay at it. But yes, he's definitely a guy that probably would do best in maybe a two tight end kind of system to where there's that designated blocking tight end, and he can block every now and then, but he's more focused on exploiting the mismatch. I mean, this guy's a mismatch nightmare. You put a linebacker, put a little midget DB on him, he's going to make your defense, very unhappy.
Absolutely. And without further ado, let's get into the film of Brock Bowers. We've talked a lot about him so far, and I do think the 12 personnel would be a great fit for him. But let's take a look at some film. I'm a big noob for film, as I've told you in the past. So here we have a few plays. We have about a minute, 40 seconds of footage. I'll let you take the lead on these plays. I'll chime in whenever you need. I'll kind of hit you up for each play. But, I mean, you could see here, right, the versatility lined up in the slot on this 2nd and 11 play.
Yep, he can line up all over the place. He's a great playmaker. This is the Auburn game from this year. Good pass by Carson Beck over the middle. Obviously he's wide open. But just complete mismatch. He breaks one tackle. I mean, that poor DB, partially breaks a second as well. These guys just don't really have a chance. And then once he gets in the open field, you basically need to try and break him, get him down as quick as you can, or he's going to do that and glide right in the end zone. This is the Kent State game for 2022, and this is what I really like about Brock Bowers. He's a playmaker, man. He's getting these tight end sweeps, which, typically we think of, these sweeps as, for a really fast wide receiver. But this was the very first play of this Kent State game. I mean, granted, it's only Kent State, but I mean, 75-yard touchdown run from a tight end. One tackler dives at him and misses, and then, I mean, it's just you say goodnight. I mean, there's just absolutely no chance once he gets that far into the open field. South Carolina game, 2022, because we played him in UGA last year. This is a 78-yard touchdown run, I believe, and this shows a lot. This shows both his strength in the open field and athleticism. Little play fake. He's wide open in the middle. Very good at high pointing the ball, wide open, obviously, but misses one tackler with, both strength and elusiveness, and he puts the juke on this poor guy. I mean, number 36 there was left in the dust. And then once again, he's in the open field. He gets a nice little block there as well from one of the wide receivers. No chance at catching him. Pretty solid in the open field. 4.5, 340 as well, which was the second fastest time for tight ends at the combine this year. Florida game 2022, Stetson Bennett with the play fake, and actually a terrible pass here from Stetson Bennett, but good coverage as well. The DB breaks it up, but then we see great hand-eye coordination here by Brock Bowers. Not one, but two bobbles, catches it, and once again, I mean, he's in the open field. DB didn't do anything wrong. Stetson Bennett actually terrible pass, but we're going to see another angle here in a minute. We're going to see, first of all, really good route. Really tight coverage as well, but he stays with his route. He's not really open, but I mean, it's Brock Bowers, so you always want to give him a chance, but the coverage is perfect. Great tip. And then we see here as we look at it, it's tipped again by the DB. As the turnaround, he tips it once, he tips it twice, and then he's able to catch it. And, like you said, Tom, hands are like glue. He's running with it in one hand like it's absolutely nothing. And he's gone. I mean, there's just, the DB did all he could, and Brock Bowers still makes a play out of it. This is, nice little outside catch, showing a bit of his athleticism. Number 21 tries to get him. He's able to bring him down with a bit of help, but, I mean, it basically takes the combined effort of about two or three guys to get him down. This, once again, the Auburn game, we see him on the edge here with, I believe, a little bit of blocking. Run blocking, he can lay a block here and there. It may not be his forte, but you see him right there. He is containing very well for, I believe that's Dejon Edwards running to the outside. Solid run gain there. And then this is once again a nice little route in the middle, I believe it is. You see him right there in the middle, left side. Little short catch, short and sweet from Carson Beck. able to get them in a goal-to-goal situation. Takes quite a few Kentucky guys to bring him down. You see, I mean, 5, maybe even 5 guys until he finally goes down. There's the strength in action. This is probably the most beautiful route we're going to see in this whole highlight string, if I remember right.
This gave me the chills, this route.
Cuts,
Ooh, that
nice little
foot
cut.
plant.
The foot plant, the cut is beautiful. It's good coverage initially, but he just gets completely faked out. And then, I mean, he's basically wide open after that beautiful cut. Easy touchdown against, I think that was Ole Miss. Alabama SEC championship game. This is this year because it's Carson Beck. But we're going to see here, nice little short route. You can give him, short, intermediate, or deep. Doesn't really matter. Great block setup as well by UGA, as Tom is pointing out there. And once he gets to open field, he's a yak machine. He basically trucks one defender before he's tackled. Oregon game, 2022 season opener. We see him right here on the left side of the screen. Ladd McConkey on a little reverse sweep. Kind of a busted play, honestly. But, I mean, this is probably the most impressive block of the video. He basically blocks his poor DB all the way to the end zone. Easy touchdown for Ladd McConkey there. We see him circled here, motioning to the left side for a little block on a running play. Gets the guy on the left edge right there, and I think that's Kenny McIntosh. Opens a nice little hole for him to run through. Like I said, blocking isn't his specialty, but he can do it, and we saw there quite a few blocks where he was able to open up some nice holes. But yeah, a lot of impressive plays, man. This guy he translates very well. Like, I don't think he's one of those guys that is a boom or bust prospect like we see every few years. A lot of, scouts and NFL analysts I've been looking at think he's also going to translate very well. And I don't know exactly where he's going to get drafted. I'm sure we're going to talk about that. But, man, a lot of teams, if they could add this guy to their offense, especially if they have a quarterback like a Justin Herbert, could take your offense to a whole different level.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I saw in this video that really stuck out to me was, the only negative, I should say, is inconsistent holding run blocks in space, but his strength and his IQ, I think, outweigh that. So I don't think it'll be an issue in the NFL. Now, from everything I've gathered so far, Noah, the Chargers at 5 are probably the earliest that he could go. I don't see him falling there, though, because I think the Chargers have extreme needs in other areas of their team. But you mentioned 12 personnel. The Jets at 10 are interesting, right? You have the blocker tight end and Tyler Conklin. Then you have Bowers, the receiver. The Titans at number 7. Okonkwo was okay last year, but you could certainly upgrade there. I know the Saints and the Colts really like him too, but highly doubtful he falls that far. For you, where do you think he would fit the best, and who do you think has the best chance of tapping him come draft night?
First of all, I agree with you on the Chargers. That is the highest position I've heard him linked to. And why? Don't get me wrong, I think he'd be great for the Chargers, but I do think they have bigger needs as well. I think they really need a wide receiver because they have to replace Keenan Allen, Mike Williams as well. They're kind of revamping that offense a little bit around Justin Herbert. I also think a lot of teams are going to be looking at Joe Alt, so that slides them down a little bit as well. Teams looking at edge rushers as well. So I do think he'd go our top 10, but probably lower top 10. Even though talent-wise, I think he could go top 5. But I just think the way teams' needs line up, I think he'll be one of those guys that drops a little bit lower. I'd probably say his best fit is the Jets, like you said, because I think Ty Conklin is he's an excellent blocking tight end, and he can make catches every now and then, but blocking is definitely his forte. And if that team gets Aaron Rodgers back next season, I don't know how good Aaron Rodgers will be after that Achilles. But if he's even 75% of the quarterback he's been most of his career, that would be an incredible target for him. I know he's listed on a lot of things as like 6'3" or 6'4", but really with his frame, he's basically like a 6'6" target, except he's got 4.53 speed and incredible athleticism. So Titans are an interesting one as well. I think it really depends on how well Will Levis develops, but that's a team that is always focused on utilizing tight ends. I mean, that's where Johnny Smith made a lot of his name, running the football as well. I know they don't have Derrick
Right.
Henry anymore, but that's kind of their identity focus as well. So I'd say probably one of those teams, like you said, I think would be the best landing spots for them.
It'll be interesting to see with potential trade ups and trade downs as well what will ultimately happen. I think Bowers is likely a Jet come draft night, but I do think his talent will translate into top 5 status immediately. Starting with his rookie season, I think he will be a top 5 tight end in the NFL in 2024 as long as he's healthy. And that's coming from a non-Georgia fan. So, any final thoughts on Bowers before we get your prediction in there?
Man, he's an animal, consummate professional. No major weaknesses. Could definitely improve on the blocking, but I think the blocking and any route running deficiencies people might point out, they're easily coachable. But you can't teach his talent. You can't teach his work ethic. He can't teach that body. I mean, it's just incredible physical specimen. 19 years old, came in and was already one of the most absolutely jacked, monstrous players on the team. So, whichever team gets him, they're getting the playmaker day one. He's going to be amazing, I think.
Outstanding prospect, top 5 prospect talent wise in this draft. And finally, Noah, the superlative of the show. We know you're a big Georgia Bulldogs fan, which means you're also a huge Atlanta Falcons fan. With the 8th overall pick in the 2024 NFL draft, the Atlanta Falcons select
Dallas Turner, edge from Alabama. I think that I would absolutely love Joe Alt, but I don't think he drops that far. I think just off the top of my head, you're going to have 3 quarterbacks go 1 to 3. Marvin Harrison, I think, will go to the Cardinals. You might have a 4th quarterback in there as well. Maybe a team like Minnesota trades up, but I'm not entirely sure on that. I think Neighbors and Odunze probably go as well. And then you add in Joe Alt. I think they really need an edge rusher because they put a lot of work into fixing their offense this season because their offense was terrible last season. They got Kirk Cousins, Zach Robinson is OC. They got the skills positions, and their O-line was improved. I think Alt would be great because Jake Matthews is getting on up there in age. But defensively, their defense was much better. And Raheem Morris coming in, he is a defensive-minded coach. But their main improvements were in the secondary. Their pass rush was better as well. But the problem was, Tom, their leading sack guys were Calais Campbell and Bud Dupree, who are 38 and 31 respectively. So it's not exactly something you can build on long term. With Dallas Turner, he's a guy that can do a little bit of everything, pass rushing, outside linebacker. I mean, I got to see him a lot, obviously, because, as a SEC guy, he plays at Alabama. It was kind of overshadowed the first few years because of Will Anderson there. But, I mean, this guy's a monster as well. Make absolutely no mistake about it. Another guy I really like is Jared Verse, but that would be a bit of a – I think they only get that if they trade back. I think it's a bit of a reach at number 8. So I think, where they're sitting at number 8, position-wise and value-wise, need-wise, I think Dallas Turner makes the most sense for them.
All right, you heard it here, folks, from the Falcons fan. Dallas Turner, likely your newest Atlanta Falcon come draft night. Folks, if you like what you watch, make sure to subscribe to our platforms on all of our social media for more NFL pre-draft videos at Review and Preview. Also, make sure to check out our live stream Thursday evening, April 25th at 8 p.m. Really excited for it. Noah, thank you so much for your time. Where can people find you and your content?
Where can people find me? Well, first of all, first and foremost, since we're doing a review and preview show, I do have my Pucking Around show focusing on the NHL. Stanley Cup playoffs just started last night, but we do a show roughly every other week, typically Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern. So if you want to keep an eye on that, you can do so. And also, as it's obvious, I am a big college football guy. We're not doing our show right now, but over on the Sports Box Network, we have the Sweet Tea Show, where we discuss all things college football. Coming back probably in, I'd say middle of June or early July, something like that, to talk all college football things. But yep, I'm a big UJ fan, and my co-host buddy Garth Patrick is a big Florida fan, so it gets all pretty interesting on there most weeks. But yeah, that's where you can find my stuff if you're interested.
Awesome, Noah. Thank you so much for your time, folks. Make sure to go check out Puckin' Around and Sweet Tea. I have links in the description below. Appreciate you all, and we'll catch you all on the next video.